To the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders. I'm pleased to have on with me Dennis Annicelli, who's with me. He's the East Hartford baseball coach, first year with the program. Coach, I appreciate you coming on. This should be fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Being able to kind of follow your career a little bit as far as when you were at SMSA and then you being able to kind of come full circle a little bit. Now you're at East Hartford. And, as we head into the baseball season, I interviewed a young man in his first year um, with Lakeview. And you told me, fun fact, you'll be actually scrimmaging them in the not too distant future. So, with that coming up, I mean, pitchers and catchers, how's that been going so far?
Pitchers and catchers has been great so far, just getting like our routines and like rituals in place and kind of the things that we want our pitchers working on and like our throwing program, trying to develop guys and we're really just looking to get guys to throw strikes and you know, attack hitters so, the ball can be in play and we can make plays and hopefully, find ourselves in more games.
Fill me in with East Hartford as far as the baseball aspect, because when I think of East Hartford, I think of football, I think of basketball. Baseball is not the first thing that comes to my mind with East Hartford. So where is that as far as the focus with the kids? And if it's difficult, have you been able to kind of seen a little bit of a change since you've been with East Hartford?
Yeah, so actually, if you look back in East Hartford, and I didn't even know this until I started teaching there, but in
Mhm.
the 90s and early 2000s, they won probably five or six state titles.
Wow.
And yeah, under Coach McDermott, who's now the South Windsor coach, and put out some like players that got drafted, played like in the minor leagues, and then I think the little league has like slowed down a little bit in town, so it's put a little a little things have been a little slower baseball wise, but we're definitely trying to like bring that back. They had some success like in the 2010s and like, at the high school level there, but we're just trying to connect back to the youth. Like me, I have two great assistant coaches, both teachers also in the school. We're gonna run some clinics like in partnership with the Little League to try to get like from the ground up. We've also like been in contact with the middle school. We're gonna have like a day where we play a 6 o'clock game and they play like a 3 o'clock game to try to like, just build some momentum in town and hopefully keep our players in town at East Hartford High School and kind of just rebuild it from the ground up. So, we're all excited and see how it goes.
Do you feel like with you being able to, because I feel like in a lot of ways, when you look at the private schools, the parochial schools, it's a little bit easier to get talent because you have the ability to go out from different parts of the state and sometimes even going outside the state. Not that you're choosing to, but if they hear about you, whatever, and they come to your school. With East Hartford, what you got is what you got, right? And
Right.
again, under maybe extraordinary circumstances, maybe it's a little bit different. But the point is, you have to really have that pipeline and have those grassroots to be able to get the feeder system to continue to produce players, but also have the willingness to want to be able to go to East Hartford and not go to X, Y, or Z, either part of the CCC conference or
Right.
other places. Do you feel like, even though I know with you being a young guy and only being there for such a short time, over the course of some years, you'll be able to really kind of build this thing from the ground up?
Yeah, I do. I think if we can, when I first started coaching, I was at Haddam Killingworth and as an assistant, and just a great program. And every year they put out like a competitive product, and I think that starts like in the little leagues and in the summer baseball, and that's what we'll try to do like here in East Hartford. Like obviously we can't do it all the time, but if we can get, connections and like, the little leaguers come to watch a game and they're excited to come to East Hartford and play. And I think we can use that to kind of turn it around over the next couple of years. Um, the thing about East Hartford too is there's so many like great athletes in the school. I didn't even realize before I started like working there, but on my baseball team. on the team this year, the shortstop Isaac Quiles. He's a four-time state champion in wrestling and just plays second in New England. So like there's a ton of great athletes. So also with that, I'm trying to like get some kids that maybe haven't played in a couple years and like get them back into it and get them on the field and see if we can kind of do it that way right now while we kind of try to get our hands back into like development at the younger level.
Now, you said you teach at the high school, correct?
Yep.
So with you being in the high school, not to say that you're shelling out NIL money, but do you feel like you're kind of like recruiting in the halls or, if you know you have some players who have friends who may either look like a baseball player, may just want to come out and, maybe you see a big dude who looks like he could hit a couple tanks and you're like, "Hey, why don't you come play?" And your buddies with like the shortstop. Like, do you think that that's something that you've thought about doing? Have you done it? Will you do it? What says you?
Yeah, I was definitely doing that. And since I'm in phys ed too, it's like a way I can like see a kid and I'm like, hey, have you ever played baseball? Did you play when you were younger? It's funny because last week the Honor Society did a dodgeball tournament and I was one of the refs and I'm like, this is like the perfect scouting tool just to see like kids throw. But the our quarterback was the state player of the year. And I'm like, I was trying to convince him, but he's not. He's going to play at Central. He doesn't want to come out for baseball. But I'm like, dude, Kyler Murray, got drafted in baseball. You might as well give it a shot.
I mean, hey, an athletic kid like him, I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, even if he just wanted to play for fun, I feel,
Right, right.
and the name is escaping me, but I've been trying to get him on my podcast. I had him on last year when he put up some ridiculous numbers, or 2 years
Yeah.
ago, and
Draven Roberts, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I feel like he could, just because with his athletic ability, he could probably hit 300 without even knowing how to swing a bat and even know what to look for.
Yeah, he's so fast, and he's
Yeah.
one of those kids. He's a great kid, but he's one of those kids too, where like, I think anything he would do, he would succeed at. Like, he's another one that's a three-time or four-time state champion in wrestling, and obviously, the football stuff. But yeah, but I think he's in the weight room getting ready for Central, so that's probably a good choice for him.
Yeah, no, I don't blame him on that. I want to go into the pitchers and catchers aspect because take me into, as far as, again, with you only being with the program for a short time, you're trying to figure out what you got, what you don't have, what things need to be worked on. But with pitchers and catchers, it's just seeing more so are like, how are guys' arms? How's the breaking stuff? How's their location? You know, where are they as far as their development as a pitcher? How raw are they? Are they fine-tuned? Whatever. What kind of staff early on are you kind of looking at right now?
So I think we're fortunate in the sense that we have a good amount of pitchers, and now it's just seeing like who can go out and get guys out, and we're gonna figure that out over the next week, like in the scrimmages, and kind of see how guys throw live. We've we've had good bullpen sessions throughout the week. One of the things that we did new this year, we charted pitches. So, while one pitcher was throwing, the next guy up was charting it and just kind of looking at location. And then the next day I would give them the feedback um like Isaac, for example, that I was telling you about earlier, the shortstop, he'll also pitch. So I would go in and say to him like, hey, yesterday you only threw 56% strikes. Like we want that number to be closer to 70, so we can kind of be like accountable for the things that we're doing. And I think that's big for them because they maybe didn't do that in the past and just seeing like our route to winning is going to be throwing strikes, making plays in the field, hopefully, being in the game late in the game, and then we have a chance. But, we had seven guys, throwing bullpen, so I feel like that's a good amount. And now it's just like figuring out how, the staff will fall into place.
Have you thought about the potential? Because as you know, with the high school season, and especially too with pitch counts and such, you really have to be aware of A, who's throwing, B, how much they're throwing, and three, with because the season starts out at the time that it does, and it typically the weather does not get better until basically the end of the season. You could be in a situation where you're playing 3 games in 5 days. You could be playing 4 games in 6 days.
Right.
Just to get all the games in. So, have you thought about potentially trying to convert some guys into maybe just being like, hey, if we're in a desperate situation, I just need you ready. Seriously.
Yeah, definitely. So we have we have like the seven throwing. A couple of them are freshmen and sophomores that might be like at the JV level this year. We could use them in those situations. And then we have a couple position players that I feel like confident could come in and throw strikes like in certain situations where we would need to. I know like I think over April break we have four in 1 week, so that'll definitely be a challenge, you know. One of the things I've thought about too is, is if Isaac, like I think about Isaac, he's so good at shortstop, so I'm like if we could, do I keep him out there and potentially have him like close games off, kind of like where I could use him more often.
Mhm.
Um, but we'll kind of see how it falls into place as we go through it.
What kind of again, I mean, have you coached anywhere else as far as baseball? I know you said you were the assistant coach at
Yeah, so I was an assistant of at Haddam Killingworth, and then in 2012 and 2013 I was the head coach at Bolton High School.
Okay.
Yeah, and Triple C. So that's a little bit different situation. It's a really small school. Though like when I was there, we didn't have a JV program.
Mhm.
Um, you know, lose some kids to East Catholic there. It's close there, but that was like a great experience. I was young. I was like 22, 23, and like great community, great kids that would like run through a wall for you. So I was like, I learned a lot there as a coach. The first year we were 7-13, and then the second year we made the state tournament. I ended up having to leave because like my teaching schedule at the time, but that was a great experience. And then after that, I did some years coaching Legion ball up in the shoreline, and then some like AAU stuff, up until recently. So.
Was there any coaches like the savvy vet guys, the long in the tooth guys that kind of really, helped your development as far as a coach early on?
Yeah, I would have to say Coach Brooks at Haddam Killingworth. He's been like a great mentor to me over the years, and like
Hmm.
he's just like the model of consistency. So I put him on for a scrimmage, and I'm like, I know if we can go up there and at least like be competitive in that game, I feel like we'll be in a good place because I think he's been there 45 years. He's made the state tournament every year. He just puts out a good product. He's consistent.
Hmm.
And that's something that's what I would like to try to get back into East Hartford. So I just look at a lot of the things, that he's done and try to model it. Obviously a different situation, but definitely, been a mentor to me over the years.
Is there anything in particular, during your time with him that you'll take and try to implement with East Hartford?
Yeah, so one of the things with him is I feel like he's great at always allowing players to know like where they stand as ball players, and he also. And I think that I kind of learned this as like at Bolton, I like was very like wound up tight, and like every little, mistake someone made, I was very like critical of. And like as I've matured and like, watch him coach, it really shows you like you gotta, let the players play and like let your confidence instill in them. So just stuff like that.
Okay. And if I remember right too, didn't he win a state title 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
I think two years ago over
Yeah.
Coventry. Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that was his first one, but yeah.
And then Coventry won last year against
Yeah,
Oxford.
exactly. Yeah.
It's funny
I,
how things kind of come full circle too with that.
yeah, it is
Now.
crazy.
So that's good stuff, man. Seriously, that's really good.
Yeah, he's a great guy and he's been great to me over the years. So,
Now is he back for another year?
yeah, he's back. So, we'll be going up there next Wednesday. So,
Okay. Hopefully the weather won't be. Hopefully
yeah.
we can get weather like we had the last 2 days, not like today.
One thing about him is if anybody's playing, it'll be them. He'll have the field ready.
No, before I let you go, do I kind of just want to ask you really quick too, as far as what when we look at the baseball season with how fast it goes, and you blink and like the regular season's already over, and you know, does the CCC have a conference tournament or no?
They do. Um, they do, yeah. So the CCC is a really good baseball conference. Like in my opinion, it's right up there like with basketball. Like I know, people were saying that this year that it was probably the best conference top to bottom. I don't know if that stood up by the end of the year, but um
Pretty good to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of great baseball teams and there's a lot of great coaches and
Yeah.
it's a tough conference. But we just got to be ready to play. Like I said, like pitchers throw strikes and we put our best product that we can out on the field and hopefully, be in a position to win some games. So
Well, Dennis, best of luck as far as the season that you have coming up in your first year with East Hartford. Stay in touch and let me know how the season goes.
I will definitely thank you for having me on.
Always, I wrap things zipper in the CT Sports Talent Show. Next time, stay safe. Remember, CT stands for Connecticut Talent. Enjoy, find them all. Enjoy the day, everybody, and be well.